In questions 7 to 10, you're going to look at what happens when you've got an amplitude change and a period dilation. So the first up here, I've given you y is equal to 3 sine 2x. The amplitude is 3, so from positive 3 to negative 3. But the period is now pi, 2 pi over n, which gives us pi, and you can see the pattern repeating. Make sure you look at this on your calculator as well. Now you can see the amplitude will stretch to positive 3 to negative 3, and the period is changed to pi, dilated to pi. In a similar way, if we have a look at for 2 cos a half x, you can see here we've got a period of 4 pi and an amplitude of 2. So if we look at the cos x on the calculator by itself, you've got the period of 2 pi, which is between 0 and 6 point something on my calculator. And if we have a look at 2 sine half x, the amplitude's increased to 2, the period is stretched out to 4 pi. So you can see there, for the same negative 2 pi to 2 pi, positive 2 pi rather, you only get the one pattern. I've very sneakily given you negative 4 pi to 4 pi. So a little bit of caution there. We'll have a look in a moment at questions 7 and 8. Moving now on to question 7, you see we've got the graph of y is equal to negative 2 sine 3x. First thing I note, the amplitude is 2, and I've got a reflection around the x-axis. The period is 2/3 pi. Now what I've done here, I've put little crosses for each of the repeating periods and a dot for somewhere where it's actually going to be transformed a bit. So if I continue with that, going down to negative 2, you can see pi, the period changing like so, repeating every 2/3 pi. And if I continue that back behind the axis there, behind the 0 line I should say, behind the axis, the pattern repeating every 2/3 pi. Now, it would pay to check that on your calculator. As you go. So you can see on the calculator between negative 2 pi and 0, you can see the repeating pattern there, and associated with it there. So a total of 1, 2, 3 periods between 0 and 2 pi, and a total of 3 periods going back the other way to negative 2 pi. The amplitude 2, and the whole thing flipped and inverted. Now the next question 8, I might actually start this having a bit of a look at it on the calculator. First up, the amplitude is 4. There's no reflection. The period is going to be 2 pi over a half, which is 4 pi. In other words, for 4 pi, it's going to occur once. So between negative 2 pi, if I had to draw it like so, through to 2 pi, we'll see the pattern appearing just the once. So I might use that to help me guide there, 4 and negative 4. Negative pi will be a 0, and pi will be a 0 as well. So these transformations in questions 7 to 10 combine both an amplitude change and a period change. Rule of thumb, the bigger the period, the broader the graph. The smaller the period, the tighter the graph. And you'll notice here that we've been using negative 2 pi to 2 pi as guidelines in many of these questions.